This episode of Midco Sports Magazine is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Hello, welcome again to Midco Sports Magazine. Hockey season is heating up, so is college basketball, and we've got inspirational stories from both of those arenas this week. Coming up in a bit, a former hoop star at St. Cloud State University who is using the lessons learned on the court to become an inspiration as a law enforcement officer right there in the home of the Huskies. But up first, a hockey coach in Sioux Falls who has used her tenacity and work ethic to make an impact on the sport well outside the borders of South Dakota. Here's Kelly Stewart.
My mom taught us how to skate in a field behind our house, really, and then they were handing out flyers at school, and so I started playing like organized hockey when I was 5.
And that's how it all started. A field on the family ranch in Elkton, South Dakota. Just like the game of hockey, things moved fast for Noelle Needham. At 13 years old, she found herself packing her bags and moving 3.5 hours away from home to play at the nation's top prep school for hockey, Shattuck St. Mary's in Faribault, Minnesota. But as fast as the game can pick up, it can come to a halt in a split second. Well, it tried to. Needham didn't allow that.
You know, it was a freak accident at practice, just a knee-to-knee hit a couple days before we were leaving for Alaska for the national tournament. And it was pretty severe, especially for a 15-year-old female. And, you know, it just, for some reason, my left knee has always been the one that's blown out.
ACL, PCL, MCL, and meniscus. Basically the Gordie Howe hat trick plus one of knee injuries. Needham had surgery the night after to repair her torn meniscus and still made the trip to Alaska and played at Nationals just 4 days later with everything still torn in that left knee.
It was just an effort to hopefully show other schools that if I could be mentally tough enough to do that, that they wouldn't give up on me, you know, coming back from such a severe injury.
The toughness paid off. Despite having 5 major knee surgeries by the time she was a senior at Shattuck, Minnesota State took a shot on the 5-5 forward, fulfilling her biggest goal at that time, playing at the Division I level. But the injury that brought her so many issues in the past struck again, and this time, Needham's game saw its last shift.
I'd blown it out again my junior year, and then I played the year with it, and then I had surgery after, and I actually got a really bad staph infection from the surgery, and that wiped me out for a year. As a former D1 athlete, I mean, you have to work and train every single day, and to be so sick and not be able to do that, it just wasn't feasible really for me to come back. So the decision was somewhat made for me, and you know, sometimes that happens.
So at age 21, after living away from home for almost a decade and dedicating life to the ice, it was back to the home barn, literally.
Well, to be honest, for as tough as I try to be, it was actually unbelievably difficult. And it was also such a major transition because I hadn't technically lived at home since I was 13. So now I was back, and everything that I had devoted my life to really was gone, and it was just over. So it was a year of transition and you know, trying to really just pick myself up.
Just cue the cliche right here. You can take the game away from the player.
Pass to Zach, out, low, weak post drive.
But you can't take the player away from the game.
I love it out there. I love working on the ranch. I love everything that my parents and family have built. They're first generational farmers out here, which is rare. But I just felt a calling, and I just couldn't ignore it. And I missed it so much. It was like a piece of me had died. So that was kind of when I literally started cold calling people. It was like, hey, you know, I'd love to work with your son or daughter, and I think that I can make them better. Finally, my parents were like, this place is always going to be here. You can always come back, so you need to go and see if you can make this fly.
Needham started doing a variety of lessons in the Dakotas and Minnesota, even sleeping in her truck when ice time was only available late night and early morning. And while coaching for a local girls team, Needham found a line mate that ended up bringing a lot to the game, Ashley Munsterman.
She's like a sister to me, and we're best friends, and so far it's worked out really well.
What started as girls hockey summer camps in Sioux Falls developed into Legend Hockey, an elite training and development program that Needham and Munsterman co-founded in 2009, and also the Sioux Falls Power, a Tier 1 club team. Fast forward to 2017, when the Power's under-16 boys team suddenly needed a coach mid-season. Needham's number was called. Though she was more than ready for the new role, the nation's only female Tier 1 boys coach couldn't help but wonder how others would react.
I was the one that was like, I'm never going to be able to recruit. Like, no one's going to send their kid here to play. Just as a female, how is this going to work? And I took over the team. I think we won like 16 games in a row or something. And it just worked, and I loved it. And I love working with that age group.
Well, the success spoke for itself, and others took notice. In particular, Ryan Hardy. He's the current GM of the USHL's Chicago Steel, but in 2017 he was a scout for the Boston Bruins, and he happened to be at a hockey tournament in Connecticut watching Needham's team beat up on his buddy's squad. While his buddy took the L, Hardy took note of Noelle. He invited Needham to serve as a guest coach at one of his camps in Chicago. According to this ESPN.com article written by Emily Kaplan, in the summer of 2018, Hardy got a text from new Toronto Maple Leafs GM Kyle Dubas, asking about good candidates for a Midwest-based amateur scout. Hardy typed out 5 names. Needham was one of them. What happened next was a first in NHL history. Per that same article, the Leafs elected to use a blind interview process. Candidates were given film, told to make a report of what they saw, and place their ID number at the top of the page. And while Noelle can't speak with the media about the Maple Leafs specifically, as they don't allow their scouts to talk publicly, they did give ESPN permission to do a story with her. According to that story, once those reports were reviewed, Needham's number was called, making her a retired rancher from Elkton, South Dakota, the NHL's first female full-time amateur scout. Dubas was quoted in the ESPN article, "Research shows that the more diverse your organization is, the better your decision-making and your operation in general. I don't think we've gone out and said that we want to hire females only, males only, anything like that. We want to hire the best candidates." Some look at Needham's hiring as shattering the glass ceiling. The sky's the limit now. Well, for Needham, it was never the goal to shatter anything. Glass rarely breaks in hockey anyways.
I'm more so just focused on kind of the process of this and just learning as much as I can, taking it step by step, and whatever is a fit, and what's not isn't, and I always have a place to go back home to, so it's just, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
Well, up next, we'll take you back to December of 2013 and a little Christmas time tribute to one of the all-time greats in men's basketball at South Dakota State.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. Time to rewind. And before Mike Dahm came along, Nate Walters was the all-time scoring leader in men's basketball at South Dakota State University. And Walters was well known in Brookings for his late-night workouts at Frost Arena. We tagged along one night and came away with this story in 2013.
He broke the SDSU scoring record that had stood for 28 years. He broke the assist record that had stood for 14. And he broke the record for points in one game that had stood since 1973. He is quick, he is crafty, and he is unbelievably dedicated.
I get the question a lot, what's he like off the floor? And I say, I don't know, because he's never off the floor. Nate doesn't feel right if he hasn't been in the gym shooting. It's just kind of a rhythm thing for him. It's part of who he is, and he wouldn't feel right if he wasn't up here at night shooting.
Almost every night for the past 3 seasons, Nate Walters has been here. For the most part, just him and his roommate and rebounder, Austin Miller. Walters claims that they took a rest from this routine for 5 days in a row once. Miller says,
That is definitely a lie.
He says maybe 3 days in a row. Otherwise, they have been here, night in, night out, but rarely a night off.
I have never met anybody who's willing to be here constantly, night in, night out, no matter how tired he is. He wants to be here.
Kind of switch it up every couple weeks. I'll do the same type of workouts. I'm just trying to get as many game shots as possible, shots that I'll take in the game, and try to do it game speed. So I think it helps more mentally than anything, just knowing that you're prepared.
He doesn't shoot for a certain amount of time or even a certain number of shots. He shoots for a certain number of makes. He shoots to make 400 shots a night. 3-point shots, pick and roll jump shots, and the floater, the runner, the nader on the escalator that has become his signature shot. On this night, we estimate he makes 2/3 of the shots he takes. So if he is making 400, he is taking 600. Now if you take 600 shots 6 nights a week, that is 3,600 shots per week. And that is 187,200 extra shots per year. To take it a little further, he has racked up some serious distance if you count the total travel on all of those shots. If he takes 200 shots from 22 feet, 200 shots from 15 feet, and 200 shots from 7 feet out, that is 9,500 feet or 1.8 miles per night. Times 6, that is 10.8 miles per week, and over 561 miles of shots per year. That is enough to get him home to St. Cloud, Minnesota, and back to Brookings, and back to St. Cloud again. Now what about weight? An NCAA men's basketball weighs about 22 ounces. At 600 shots per night, that is 825 pounds per night that he is heaving toward the hoop. That is 4,950 pounds per week, which equals 257,400 pounds per year, which means that he is chucking up over 128 tons of basketball per year. That's about 18 full-grown elephants, or 26,000 full-grown jackrabbits. And finally, what about the hours? If you figure that he is in here for 2 hours a night, 6 nights a week, and say 50 weeks a year, that is 600 extra hours of practice per year. That is 25 full days of dedication. 25 full days of extra effort. And those are Nate's numbers.
Kind of hard to believe, but Nate Walters is in his 7th year now of professional basketball. He is currently playing for a EuroLeague team in Tel Aviv, Israel. There's more MAG to come, but first, here is our latest Science of Sports.
Sports science is the use of scientific tools and methods to improve athletic health and performance. Resting energy expenditure is a test that we perform when an athlete wants to know their exact energy needs, so how many calories their body would need if they were to just basically lay in bed all day. Most athletes will use it for changing body composition or really trying to maintain body composition. So maybe they're trying to increase lean muscle mass or they're trying to lose body fat. Knowing that number, we're able to give them exact recommendations on how much food they should be eating and what that nutrition plan looks like for them based on that number. The really unique thing is that anybody can come and do it. So just like any of our services, they're not just for that professional athlete. The majority of people that come in for this test are actually just active adults that really want to make a health change.
Midco Sports Magazine on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Welcome back. We go to St. Cloud, Minnesota for our next story. It's about a former star basketball player at St. Cloud State University who has taken the lessons that she learned on the court to be an inspiration now off the court right there in the home of the Huskies. Here's David Brown.
On a quiet evening in St. Cloud, Minnesota, this community outpost speaks louder than any one person. It used to be a drug house, but has since been converted into a foundation for change.
So we use it as a way to try to, if there was a gap, to bridge the gap between maybe some of the areas in the community and, the police department.
Talisha Barlow is one of several St. Cloud police officers who use the house to host various events, encouraging not only adults but also children to stay on the path of success.
We help kids to improve their grades in school and just do better and be leaders and just become active, productive citizens.
If the outpost is a symbol of hope, then Talisha Barlow is its living embodiment. In 2013, Barlow became the first African-American female police officer in St. Cloud. But embracing that notion was easier said than done.
So I got a lot of attention for that, when really I just wanted to go to work and I just wanted to be judged really on my work ethic and my character and less about, my race.
Work ethic and character. To Barlow, they're an extension of what she learned on the basketball court. She finished her Huskies career in 2011 as a top 10 scorer in program history. But her fondest memories aren't individual.
I love being a part of a team, and I love that aspect of, working towards a common goal together.
She really leads by example. When she needs to get her teammates' attention, she'll do that, but it was always in a positive nature, getting them to believe in themselves, always encouraging them.
That outward nature extended to Barlow's education. She completed her undergrad work early and wanted to learn even more, even though it was by accident.
I literally picked out this handbook that has a list of all the majors at St. Cloud State, and I literally went eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it literally landed on criminal justice. So I picked it with no intentions of using it.
Unintended consequence may not be the proper phrase, but it set Barlow in motion down a road with a big reward. After studying criminal profiling overseas, she came back to St. Cloud, determined to join the force.
I kind of found something that I thought might replace that feeling that basketball gave me. Nothing beats that feeling that you get before a game and all the hype that you feel, and then even during the game and then after the game, and then having that type of connection with, being part of a team. So I thought law enforcement would give me that.
And when it came time for her to join the force, she could think of only one person to pin her badge at her accreditation ceremony.
It meant a lot to me because it meant that obviously we had an impact on each other's lives, and she felt I was important enough to be a part of that very, very special day.
For her to pin my badge on me was, thank you moment. You've done a lot for me, and I really appreciated her as more than a coach.
But the appreciation from Coach Fish didn't necessarily translate to the rest of the community. In a time where tensions have been heightened between citizens of color and law enforcement, Barlow's presence rubbed some people the wrong way.
I wasn't even on the job probably more than 5 months before, I started hearing, oh, she just got hired because she's black. I then personally started getting, why are you a cop? You're a traitor. You're just one of them. I would get a lot of that with people that I was dealing with, on a regular basis, on the street. And those are kind of things that I take serious because I know my heart, I know my intentions.
It was something Barlow couldn't escape. But instead of fighting back, she tried to emulate what she did so well on the basketball court, encouraging others through both actions and words.
During my speaking engagements, I realized that it was really inspiring for kids to see someone in uniform that looked just like them. That's when I actually started to embrace the fact that I've been coined, the first African-American female in St. Cloud, and then I felt like it was my time just to own it and say, yeah, I am.
She always is about helping people. That's one of the qualities I've noticed about her, whether, helping her brothers and sisters, to her teammates, to anybody that she meets. She's always been that helping person. She's always put other people first.
It would be naive to say Barlow standing in St. Cloud solves larger issues in our society. But understanding both herself and the path it took to get where she is today is a lesson that's universal.
And I got to be able to utilize it for positive reasons, to inspire the youth and just help people, kind of find their journey and reach their goals.
Joined again by David Brown. And Brownie, Talisha talks about helping other people reach their goals. What about herself, though? What's coming up next for her?
Well, obviously, she has her own goals. She would like to be a police chief one day, whether that's in St. Cloud or elsewhere. But what's funny is when I was talking to her old coach, Lori Fish at St. Cloud State, she says she thinks Talisha's going to run the FBI one day. And that was said completely unprompted. So I think that just goes to show you how sports can not only provide a blueprint for when you're actually playing, but just lay the groundwork for life and trying to better your community. And Talisha's the perfect embodiment of that.
Yeah, right on. All right. Thanks a lot. Good story, David Brown. Well, this is our last Midco Mag of 2019, but only our halfway point of the season. We are back with an all-new January 6th episode, and here are some of the stories you'll see in 2020 on Midco Sports Magazine.
It's just a natural homing ability and desire to come back to their nest. It's just fun watching them come home.
He always wanted you to do your best, try your hardest, and I think that's how he lived. It's very nice to have people say good things about him. I'm very proud to be his daughter.
I was playing golf with a client, and he was like, "You got to go try this." When my office is the 18th hole, looking at the mountains all day, you really can't beat it.
The stock car racing came to Sioux Falls kind of late, because stock car racing actually started at the end of World War II. I was only 15 years old in 1954 when Sioux Speedway opened.
It was my father and his brother and 3 other guys from Rock Rapids that built this venture.
The place was packed. Every Sunday night it was packed.
There's a lot of history at this track.
Thanks for watching Midco Sports Magazine. You can find this episode and all episodes on YouTube and IGTV.
This has been Midco Sports Magazine, presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.